Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to New Life Live, and I'm so glad you're here. It's Chris Williams, and we are going to be doing a special show today that is all about addressing anxiety. You know, over 40 million adults in the United States are impacted by anxiety. That's 19% of the adult population, and about 7% of kids aged 3 to 17 experience issues with anxiety. And so as this is such a common experience that we have, it can show up in a person's life in many, many different ways for many different reasons. So today we're going to do a revisit on some previous calls that we've had from listeners who are experiencing anxiety who have called in for help. You'll hear advice from current and past co-hosts that will help you better understand anxiety and ways to deal with it in real-life situations. We'll be taking your calls live tomorrow, so be sure to tune in today. But if this is an area of life that you're struggling with, call us. Give us a call tomorrow. To start with, let's hear from Dr. Alice Benton on what causes anxiety.
In my experience as a psychologist, what I see is that anxiety is often related to unfinished business in various areas of our life. So when we've been avoiding facing problems, when we've been avoiding speaking up for ourselves, it usually generates anxiety. When we have unresolved historical pain and we're trying not to look at it, generates anxiety. And anxiety can be part of God's inbuilt radar system, trying to get our attention to all these unfinished, unresolved issues that we need to do something about. But it can also have a medical component to it. This can be overlooked easily, even by us clinicians. If a thyroid is not working correctly, it can exacerbate anxiety. Unbalanced hormones, unbalanced neurotransmitters, through no fault of our own, those things can generate anxiety within us. Caffeine and other parts of diet, another big factor. Substances, mind-altering substances, even though many of them help us to feel less anxious if you use them, nicotine, vaping, alcohol, some forms of drugs, you might feel less anxiety in the moment, but it makes it worse in the long run. And then what we feed our brains. So what we're watching in the news, what we're consuming in social media, all of this can make anxiety worse. So what can we do about it? Well, good news, it's very treatable. I really recommend first doing the medical exams on it to find out, is it some of these things that are outside of our physical control, but we can get the right treatment for it. Most forms of therapy will help anxiety, but CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, very, very effective for anxiety. And cleaning up our diet. Literal diet, what are we putting in our mouths? Spiritual diet, how much are we working to be aligned with God's will? And digital diet, what are we feeding our brains?
It's so powerful. You know, you mentioned unfinished business, and just this past weekend at Restore, we had a woman who has been she's listening to New Life every day. She's part of our club New Life, and the issue of betrayal was an issue in her life for 10 years. Mm. And the anxiety that comes from not dealing with the things that you're struggling with, that is part of the problem, right? I mean, right. What you just said about even the digital component, we have so much content coming at us. There's so many things that are unfinished business. You could look at it that way. But man, I appreciate you sharing that. And I also love that you talked about cognitive behavioral therapy, because you know, just understanding what we're thinking and how it's impacting us can make a difference. So maybe today you're dealing with anxiety. And if you didn't know that you're dealing with anxiety, it might be if you're real quick to react, if you're jumpy, if you are grouchy. Actually, that can also be an evidence of anxiety. But we got help for you right after this break.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 1st through the 3rd. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I've had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEWLIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live and our special program on the topic of anxiety. If anxiety is an issue for you, New Life has some great resources to help you. We have a devotional titled 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. We also have the book Changes That Heal by Dr. Henry Cloud. We have a book called The Worry-Free Parent by Sissy Goff. We have a lot of audio CDs about fear and anxiety that feature Steve Arterburn and Dr. Dave Stoop. You can order or learn about these resources by visiting newlife.com/store. That's STORE. Also, anxiety is one of those issues we'll be addressing at the 2025 Life Recovery Conference. That conference is online. Tickets are available at liferecoverygroups.com. Now, what we want to do is hear from another caller. It's Steve and Dr. Jill Hubbard and Mylan Yurkovich as they offer advice on a caller dealing with anxiety.
Reggie, how are you today? What's going on?
So today, my question for you guys is, how can I move past fear and anxiety in life? So a little bit of a backstory. I still currently live with my parents. I'm 31, and I feel like I missed I want to say that rite of passage or that threshold where you kind of leave the nest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like I have a fear of life. I have a fear. It's just it's fear. It's fear and anxiety. The fear and anxiety was kind of based from porn. I've struggled with porn since I was from a very young age. And I wouldn't say maybe 10 or 11. I struggled with it from then until now. And I'm starting to get out of it a little bit. I'm realizing that it's not real. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm craving connection with real people, but because of the anxiety, I don't know how to I don't know how to switch it off. So because of the porn, I it's like I sexualize people, or I don't know how to associate with people without sex, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so here's the thing, Reggie. You are very aware of the problems that you have. You're aware of that, right? I mean, that's good. That's good. And you're calling us because it sounds like you want things to be better. That's what you're saying here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So aware, you want change. But there's one other thing that you've got to finally do for this to get better. Because, one of the most anxiety-producing emotions down under is the emotion of shame. And when we do stuff that produces shame, we may not really understand it, but it produces a real discomfort that you could say, well, it's just kind of like an unnamed anxiety. The other thing is, when we're using pornography, our mood is altered. We become dependent on an altered mood, even addicted. And so when we are full of shame because we're doing something that we know we shouldn't do, and then we're not doing it, it's like we're in withdrawal. We're driven back to it. So there's the anxiety. And that is going to continue until this third element comes, and it's this one, willingness. You have to be willing to do what you know you need to do. You know you have to stop the porn, right? Because you're saying,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of other people. I don't want to be anxious around other people. Well, the longer you stick with that relationship with pornography that dehumanizes everybody, the more your relationships are in the pornographic world, the less you will ever be able to relate effectively, compassionately, intimately with real life human beings. So you got to get to every man's battle. You have to go there. If you want to stop the anxiety, first you have to start with what you know you can deal with, and that's the pornography. I'll let Jill and Mylan take it from here.
So, Reggie, I'm going to take a leap here. I'm going to venture to say that probably your home growing up was also filled with anxiety and fear. And when we have a home where the message is the outside world is a scary place, we have a hard time venturing out. And at 10 years old, you found something to soothe yourself, something that could help to contain you. Because if you had fearful or anxious parents, and sometimes it's not always overt and noticeable, but kids feel their parents. They sense the anxiety from them and the hesitancy about life. So you found this thing that could soothe you and contain you. But what any addiction does is it emotionally stunts our growth. It keeps us younger than our chronological age. And so it then perpetuates itself, which is this feeling now you are very aware of, as Steve pointed out, that you're 31, you're still living at home, you've missed the normal rite of passage of leaving home. So the thing is, you can catch up if you are willing to step out. Steve gave you a great way to start. It's a way to help to launch you and by that immersion in the Every Man's Battle workshop. And everybody there is afraid and anxious. So you will be in good company. I remember someone told me one time, the thing about being an adult is, of course, you might be afraid, you might be fearful, you might be anxious, but you need to do whatever you need to do anyway. And a lot of times with addiction, we think we need to wait until we feel calm before we act. And that just isn't true. We have to feel the feelings and take a step anyway.
You do it afraid. And if you don't do it afraid, you never do it. Mylan, what are your thoughts here for Reggie?
I believe adulting, or turning into an adult, is turned into this monumental challenge for a lot of young people. It's difficult. So I empathize with you, Reggie, and because it is very challenging. Everything wants to keep us little in this world. Secondly, something that deeply affected me a long time ago when I was in my late 30s was Henry Cloud's book, Changes That Heal. I went to a seminar with Henry Cloud and John Townsend when I was in my late 30s, and he talked about grace, truth, and time being the key ingredients to our healing journey. It takes lots of grace, it takes a lot of truth and exposure to that truth, and then it takes time, but not time as we know it. And I'm speaking to Jill and Steve's point right now, but Henry makes a distinction on redemptive time. And that is time when you are jumping into the pain, or when you're working on you and you're going to those uncomfortable places outside our comfort zone. That is redemptive time. It is an accelerated time period. I refer to it as kind of like dog years, you know.
Right.
For every
True.
It's for every year we work hard.
It doesn't take as long.
No, it doesn't.
As it did to get here.
It's like 7. And I finally, Reggie, I felt little inside as a young man, and felt like the world was overwhelming. And then one day, I remember saying to myself, and I didn't realize it until I was in my 50s, I said, I finally feel like I'm 50 and 50. I'm 50 on the outside and 50 on the inside. So I think just I want to just encourage you to get Henry's book, Changes That Heal. And he talks about the developmental steps we need to walk through. And Jill's right. Our families can stunt us. They can be the reason. It's not just your fault, Reggie. Your family contributed to your stunted development. And that's not a criticism.
No.
And in some ways, I really want to say, Reggie, it's not your fault. Because you didn't create the environment you grew up in. And I would agree with Jill. I'm certain there was fear and anxiety in that home, as there was mine. And therefore, I had a difficult time venturing out. So I really want to encourage you to get Changes That Heal, because it talks about bonding, learning to separate from others, which is your question, integrating good and bad, learning to live in a gray world where nothing, we have to mix good and bad every day, and then becoming an adult, which is the last section. It's an immensely powerful book, and the workbook, and I highly suggest that in addition to everything that Jill and Steve have already said.
Reggie, give me 2 really good reasons not to be part of every man's battle.
So I guess the first reason would be, I'm kind of financially strapped right now.
Okay. And what else?
And that's it pretty much. I would say maybe my work schedule. But you know what? That was just one more thing. I know we probably have to get off really soon, but that's something else too that I'm struggling with currently. Is like I have this like fear, like again, it's still fear. I've been in the same job for 5 years. Like currently, I live an hour outside of Los Angeles, and I commute for an hour to go to work, and an hour to come back, and
Reggie,
don't even want to go.
Yeah. So you begin by clearing up your thought life. That begins at every man's battle. I want you to hold on, because guess what? We have scholarships that take care of folks who need it but can't afford it. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll get a scholarship for you. You'll go. We'll follow up with you. We'll see how things go. But you're going to have to do some really uncomfortable things if you want things to be better.
And really, it's a day off work, right? Or an afternoon, depending on the location of it, right? Because it's a Friday through Sunday.
Oh, okay.
And here's the thing. You're afraid and you're feeling stuck. So you need something outside of yourself to help you. And that's what we're offering you, is to go to a place where people understand this and will love you and help you through it.
I absolutely love that call. And hearing from the wisdom of Steve, Jill, Mylan reminds me of 3 things that are critically important as it relates to our anxiety. And that is, our experiences in life teach us how to relate to ourselves, other people, and the world around us. And so shame is a way in which we have a primary negative belief about ourselves that drives a tremendous amount of anxiety. It could sound like, but that's about the relationship to the self. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm unworthy. I'm unlovable. If we are carrying that primary negative relationship to ourselves and belief about ourselves in the world, then we are going to carry anxiety everywhere we go. That's why shame is a really, really important thing to look at as we are experiencing anxiety, because it's such an anxiety-provoking experience and process. The other thing is that through our relationships throughout life, we learn how to relate to other people. And if other people are painful, or other people are scary, or other people are unreliable or untrustworthy, if we believe that about others, then that also becomes a very, very anxiety-provoking belief that we carry on inside of ourselves, usually reinforced by our experience, but oftentimes we need a different experience with other people. That's why we believe so strongly in the group process here at New Life. And finally, I think Jill hit this really, really well, is our relationship to the world around us. She mentioned that, hey, if we grow up in an anxious home that's telling us about the world around us, that the world is a dangerous place, the world is a scary place, the world is a threatening place, then that all contributes to being stuck where Reggie was, in this horrible place where he can't launch, he can't do something different in his life because he is unworthy through shame. The world is scary, overwhelming, and other people are untrustworthy. So being able to break through that becomes really, really critically important. I think for all of us, it's a big, big, huge reminder of like, what do we believe about ourselves? What do we believe about the world around us? What do we believe about other people? And that's also where our spiritual connection to God is super helpful, because belief matters. Belief matters tremendously. So taking an examination on what do we believe about God? What do we believe about ourselves, the world around us, other people, and how do we take a hold of our thought life and our belief life and do something different? Oftentimes that takes an outside source. I know it did for me. Years of therapy, workshops, but that's what we're here at New Life to provide you, a way through and beyond the anxiety that you're experiencing today. We're going to be back right after this.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I ended up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Glad that you're with us today. We are doing a special show on anxiety, and I love hearing how other hosts had helped clients or help callers through these issues. So we're going to hear from Steve, Jill, and Dr. David Stoop on how they helped a caller named Jennifer.
How about we talk with Jennifer from Woodbridge, Virginia. She listens on WAVA. Really glad that she's with us here today. Hi there. What's going on in your life today?
I deal with anxiety, and I am taking medication for it. And I was wondering if there are other methods and how to deal with anxiety besides taking medication.
All right, great question. I think anxiety is one of the most underrated problems in the Christian community. So many of us are afraid, scared, and we call it anxiety, but it's just good old-fashioned fear. We're afraid. Jill, you want to start us off here, and then Dave, what are your thoughts on anxiety and non-medication for it?
Yeah, Jennifer, you're definitely not alone. It's actually kind of become the number one malady amongst people, and young people especially too. In terms of dealing with it, meds is a good thing because that's a fast intervention for dealing with anxiety, but that just helps you kind of get through and cope day to day. It doesn't really get underneath to the root of why you're feeling afraid and anxious, and that takes some processing.
So that's important to work with somebody to see, okay, what's going on that this anxiety, because anxiety is kind of this nebulous thing that, we kind of lump everything into one bucket. And you kind of need to go in and kind of tease it out and see, okay, what really makes up your anxiety? And then you have to do some things that there's no way to get, to just make it go away without going through it. So all of us adults are afraid. Just because you become an adult doesn't mean you're not afraid. But we're afraid, and we have to do things anyway. So in getting the support and the structure and then taking some graduated steps towards pushing through what you're afraid of.
Well, the problem, though, with anxiety is that I don't know what it is that makes me anxious.
Well, right. That's,
yeah. Fear has an object. If I'm afraid, I can tell you what I'm afraid of. If I'm feeling anxious, you say, why are you anxious?
Well, I don't know.
It's like, I don't know. And often it comes about because you were raised in a fearful environment with your parents and or significant figures in your early development, where it was just kind of a fearful environment, and you didn't know what to be afraid of, but you picked up the fears of the adults and you incorporated them. So there's one of the ways of dealing with it is, like Jill was saying, it's a process. Another way is to do some desensitization, where a counselor takes you through a process of desensitizing you to specific things. But I think before you do the desensitizing, it would be helpful to get into the environment that you grew up in and identify the sources of the fear, because that's the kind of thing that creates anxiety, because I don't know what they're afraid of. And they're just afraid, and I pick it up and I feel it and experience it through them.
Well, a nice little recovery phrase that I have heard, it doesn't resolve it, but I think it's a great perspective changer, is do it afraid. That's something that you'll hear people say, let's do it. Let's don't back off because we're afraid. Let's do it afraid.
Do it anyway.
But then secondly, face what you're afraid of.
Yeah, but secondly, do it with somebody else. To think that you have the power to face every problem and to do it by yourself is a horrible mistake. And those of us who have made that mistake wish we could go back and do it not alone, but do it with someone else.
No, that's really key, because, connecting with another person is calming to the brain and will relieve some of the anxiety.
And you also want to do it moving. And so I use that as a way to get us to exercise. You simply, as an anxious person, if you're not into some vigorous exercise at least 30 minutes a day, you're really cheating yourself. And of course you can overdo that, but that's not the point here. You need to exercise. And then also, you just need to have that one-on-one therapeutic relationship, like the guys are saying here, that helps you get to the root. Where did this come from, and how has it affected me? What's the benefit for me hanging on to it, and what do I need to do to let it go? And then, you've got a real chance of a totally different life. Totally different life.
I absolutely love hearing the courage of our callers and the wisdom of our hosts. I mean, my note writing is furious right now. But one of the things that really sticks out to me is that they're talking about symptom versus source. Oftentimes with anxiety, we're chasing the symptoms instead of getting to the source of it. But I really like what Dave has said, because it helped me. Fear has an object, but I'll say it like this: anxiety has an energy. That's why exercise was important for the energy of anxiety, because it burns off some of that energy and burns through some of that anxious energy. But what I really sit with today is do it afraid. What a phenomenal line. There's a movie, We Bought a Zoo, and in it there is this line where the father is talking to his son, and he says that my life was changed with a 20-second decision. I just needed 20 seconds of courage. If you're struggling with anxiety today, give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It just takes 20 seconds of courage, and your life could be different as a result of that. Give us a call. We'll be right back.
I had been in porn addiction. My past had not been found out at all, yet I had hit a point in my life where it was time.
Men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Everyman's Battle Intensive can help.
I never divulged what I'd been doing.
Find help today at New Life's Everyman's Battle Intensive.
This is a place that changed my life in such a positive way for Christ, because I could be the Christian man that I'm called to be.
Now the intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, December 6th through the 8th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I cannot say enough what it does in the Christian community for not just men, for their children, for their wives.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us today. We are doing a special show on anxiety, and we're hearing from past callers and different hosts. If you are struggling with anxiety, want to give us a call. We're going to be live tomorrow. Give us a call tomorrow. We'd love to hear from you. Right now, we're going to hear from Steve, Dr. John Townsend, and Dr. David Stoop, helping a caller named Jackie.
Jackie from Omaha, Nebraska.
Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your ministry. I've listened to you for the last couple months. I find you to have a lot of good advice. I appreciate you a lot.
Thank you.
I have a lot of anxiety and stress over a chronic. My son who has a chronic illness. He's schizophrenic. He's been through a lot. He's almost 25. He's just trying to find the right treatment and the right facilities. It's been very difficult for the last 5-6 years, and he's been hospitalized for 6 months now. And I'm also a single parent. I've been doing this alone, so it's all on me pretty much. I just have so much anxiety and find myself, almost overwhelmed with sadness about it. And I've been told by other people that I need to give this up to God and let God take it from me, and I don't even know how to do that.
Jack, have you ever gotten therapy?
Yeah, I have.
Well, what did they do with the anxiety and sadness?
Well, I
That's
talked
why
about it
people go.
most of the time.
Okay.
And I still use, I have close friends and family that I talk to about it, and I just share that. And
Well, there's
that's what I constantly do.
There's talking about it, but talking doesn't cure everything. Did you resolve why you have those anxiety and sadnesses?
No, not really. I guess I don't really know if we ever touched on how to resolve the anxiety.
Anxiety. Do you know what the fundamental issue of anxiety is?
It's the fear.
No.
Well, no, I'm not sure what it is.
Control.
Oh.
We
I suppose I'd like to control it all.
Hey, I'm on your side here now. I don't think you're doing anything bad. I think you're hurt.
I am hurt. I'm terribly
people,
sad.
Right, people who feel anxious are in a position where they don't have choices over a situation that's larger than them, which is your situation. Anxiety is a signal that says, I don't have enough control to deal with this.
Okay, and I hear that. And then how do I get that feeling of control or not, of just,
Well,
that's where I get lost.
Well, where we go is we kind of go to the Serenity Prayer. I'm making something complicated simple, but it's a good metaphor, I think, is Serenity Prayer. You ever heard of that?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So it says, God, let me, give me the strength to solve what I can and let go of what I can't. And then you reestablish control, because now I'm focusing my energies on what I can do about my son, what I can do about being a single mom, and all that. And then I'm not going to put energy on the things I can't do. I give those to the community and to God and people in my life, and then the anxiety tends to resolve.
The other part of it, Jackie, if you read the Psalms, David was in that kind of a situation. He couldn't control anything, and he's running from Saul, and he expresses a lot of anger at God, but he never lets go of God. So he always comes back to the fact that, but God, you are faithful. You will take care of this and that. See, and I wonder if, you've shared your grief, your sorrow, which is the anger as well as the sorrow with people. But maybe you just need to have some real, face-to-face times with God himself, and let yourself feel angry at, the circumstances, but don't let go of him. You always come back to that. So you could read through David's Psalms and personalize it in terms of your situation, and that would help you, see, if I can only bring to God the sad feelings, but I can't bring to him the angry feelings, then I really can't give him my grief.
I have been angry at him. I mean, I've been mad.
Good.
Why did you do this to my son?
Okay. But then you kind of you have to come back to the point. Well, but God didn't do it.
And I know that.
Yeah.
It's like.
But you come back to that. But it's okay to do that, and that's an important part of the grieving for you. I think is to allow yourself the right to do that. But like David, never let go of God, and you come back to the fact that, yeah, I know that you didn't do it, God, but boy, it feels like you could have stopped it, and you go on with it. Have you been in NAMI?
Yeah.
Okay, because those are people.
I have, and you find people that are supportive. There are those.
Yeah, and some of them are angry, and some of them are out of control.
Sometimes it's a better community. I mean, there's just it is a hit and miss.
Yeah.
How connected are you to a stable set of loving, safe people who will listen to you and be with you on a regular basis?
I have my family in every day. Actually, it was my family, my sisters, who encourage me. They listen to me. They really, really hear me. I mean, they know.
So you're not alone.
Oh no, I'm not alone.
Okay,
I don't have a spouse.
Right. Then I would go back to, then if it's not a loneliness issue, I would start getting some control over my life and setting some limits on what I can and can't do. And like Dave said, grieve the rest, because you sound terribly under-resourced in terms of probably attempting too much. So I would use the support you have and keep talking and keep bringing it up, but I would go solve some problems and say, I can't do this anymore, I need help here, and begin to put more structure in your life and take some more control. And that should take care of a lot of the sadness and anxiety.
Okay.
All right. I want to I want to throw a fly in the ointment here a little bit.
First time that's ever happened on this radio show.
Oh, man.
Yeah, ever.
Okay. Well, first of all, Jackie, I want to say to you that if God did that to your son, if that was part of a master plan, it was not because God is bad,
right?
But it would be because somehow, some way, it was for the greater good.
And I hear that, and I try to figure that out too.
Now, here's why I like to go down this path a little bit, because if we could accept that, maybe God did it and it's for the greater good, sometimes it's easier for us to surrender once we've accepted it fully. But, if God would give Paul a thorn in the flesh, if he would crucify his own son, I think there are a lot of things that he might be willing for us to go through for the greater good of the kingdom of God. And it's so hard. I mean, when I went through a divorce, I didn't question whether or not Christ died on the cross for me. But I was in that thing that Dave brought up of, okay, I know you don't have to prevent everything horrible. That's not what you do. But couldn't you have at least prevented this one thing for me?
That's what I feel too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then I go, yeah, you could have. But you didn't. You don't do that, just like you don't, pop out little special airbags on cars so none of them have crashes and stuff. And it really is all for the greater good, so that people will actually choose to follow you, have faith, develop a relationship, whatever it is. But I just want to help you, Jackie, to be able to say, no matter what, This is where we are. I accept this, no matter why. I'm going to believe that God, if he did it, it was for the greater good. Now I want to heal. But I think really before we can heal, we have to accept. We have to say, okay, this is it. It's not going to change. God's not going to do the miracle. Lightning's not going to strike here. And 1 foot forward, I'm going to begin this healing process from a place of acceptance, even the worst thought of acceptance.
Well, there's another way to look at that too, and you skip the first part of what you're saying and just come to the other part and say, okay, God, what is it that you want to show me, teach me? How do you want to enrich my relationship with you through this horrible, painful situation? And that's the expectancy then, and that's you were getting there too, and I'm just saying, well, just jump there to that point.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, there's so much wisdom in what they had to share. There is, again, my note writing skills are getting put to the test here. But something that really stuck out to me in that last call, and especially what John and Dave and Steve had to share with Jackie, was something that I see in my office over and over, I see in my life over and over. And oftentimes, anxiety gets stuck, and as we mentioned before, stuck in an energy that behind it is usually our unresolved anger or unprocessed grief. And I just find it over and over, when we can't access the grief and we can't access the anger, then it just transforms itself, however sneakily, into anxiety. And that's where the control factor comes in, because the control is trying to control the uncontrollable, to really point out John's point with the serenity prayer there. And so in our lives, if we're struggling with anxiety, we want to really ask some key questions of ourselves. One question of that is that, what is the anger and the frustration inside of me that remains unresolved? Do I have unfinished business with people in my life? Maybe it's people from my past. Do I have unprocessed and unresolved grief and losses that I haven't quite got the care and the need to work through that? And there's 3 elements of that they point to over and over again that we saw in the last segment as well. And that is acceptance of what is, the work that we do with ourselves, the care from other people around us, and then a continuing leaning into our faith over and over and over again. And I love how Dave really emphasized for Jackie that this is a process that can take time, and can take time meaning we do it over and over and over again, and eventually it begins to resolve itself where we achieve more peace on the other side of that anxiety. We're going to be back right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do, because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. Chris Williams here with a special program in examining and doing a deeper dive on anxiety. Right now, we're going to go to a call that Becky Brown and I had in a discussion that Becky Brown and I had about anxiety and how sometimes it's mislabeled as something else. So I want you to hear a snippet from our conversation.
I know a lot of folks are dealing with worry and anxiety these days, and maybe not even recognizing that anxiety and worry is dealing with them or not dealing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize where somebody might mislabel anxiety as either anger or fear? Do you ever see where people get confused about where anxiety is actually happening in their life?
Well, I think that it's understanding what the purpose of each of these emotional experiences are, right? Anxiety is there to identify a threat. Mm-hmm. Anger is there to identify an injustice.
I like that distinction.
So we need to start differentiating the purpose of what these are. Sadness is to identify a significant or meaningful loss. And so when we can start identifying what they're like dashboard lights, right? And so that the dashboard of my anxiety could be actually pointing to an injustice that I feel anxious about. But in my home, you couldn't be angry. So I couldn't access the anger, so I went to anxious.
Great. Oh, gosh, that's a great description, Chris.
And we could do that the other way around. I can't be anxious, so I went to anger.
I love that, and I think that's very helpful.
As we're seeing in today's program, anxiety can be really tricky. It oftentimes is pointing to something else that's going on inside of our lives, something else that's going on inside of us, and that's why I use that dashboard example. But really what we're trying to do is understand what's happening in the engine part of our experience and our bodies. So we're going to go to another call that helps really guide this caller into what's happening underneath the dashboard of her anxiety. We're going to go to Kim, listening in Rogers, Arkansas, on the podcast. Kim, so glad that you're with us today. Talk to us. What's going on?
Thank you. I have a MRI scheduled tomorrow for my shoulders, but planning and thinking of the MRI, and in the past I had to have one many years ago, and I had to search for a place that had an open head, right? Because I couldn't. Just being inside of there makes me nervous. And the question when I scheduled it was, she said, are you anxious about small places? And I hesitated, I stopped, and then I laughed, and I said, no, I can do this. I can do this. And I really want to do it without needing medication. And yet, after I thought about it for a while, I got this, like, tightness in your chest, like you think something's sitting on you. And then I thought, I don't need to go there. I don't need to do that. I'm growing, I'm expanding, I can do this. So then I think, is claustrophobic, is that response because of some trauma that I may have experienced that I'm not aware of? Now, my sister has it too.
Yeah.
And the person that was asked me the question of what I was asking, she said, well, it could be something that you don't remember or whatever. But I think of genetics because my sons are amazing men and they get in very small places. They scuba dive, they go in their jobs.
Yeah. Jill, what do you think?
So claustrophobia certainly could be a part of trauma, but I think it's a much broader spectrum from, it could be one indicator of something severe, but you would usually have other indicators. It wouldn't be a solo indicator. But it also could be of minor situations where you felt trapped or caught or someone else was controlling you in some way. But it also can be a learned behavior that runs in families. So your sister also experiences this. I'm wondering about your parents, because sometimes when we're just in an anxious environment, different things, anxiety manifests in different ways.
Were there times, Kim, do you remember in childhood where you experienced bullying, being picked on in some way?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that can be be a response. Claustrophobia can be a response because again, there's that feeling of I need to control something that is outside of my control, right?
Because I was
focus-
controlled.
Yeah,
right.
or
I was controlled or trapped
I'm
emotionally.
trapped in a difficult situation I can't get out of. Yeah,
exactly. I do think because your sister experiences the same symptoms, it would be good to talk with her about, do we have some shared experiences in childhood that may have contributed to this, right?
We have a dad that was very controlling and very all about himself, and we would run around and try and make everything right so he wouldn't get upset.
Yeah.
When he got upset, then I don't know, and we were never really asked. My mom never asked me, Kim, how do you feel about this? Are you okay? I'm so sorry that we're not talking to you, or we're not, how are you? I don't ever remember my mom saying, how are you doing? Because I think she was trying to deal with it too, So.
Right.
And Kim, if you look at it from that perspective, you're living in a volatile environment.
Yes, we were never sure what it was going to be like when he came home.
Okay, so that actually is called an environmental trauma. And it actually gets a little bit more into the bones, if that makes sense. It gets a little bit deeper because it's the way we live our life in and out. It's like kind of like the frog in the boiling pot of water. It gets woven in. And so our body may constantly be looking for, in any situation, what is my way out?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And
not consciously thinking through it. Exactly.
MRI, there's no way out.
yes. So you may come by the claustrophobia very, very naturally. But
I'm going to ask him. So if the power goes out, tell me you can get me out of here.
Yes, but I think
I don't know if they can.
But I'm wondering this: would your sister be able to go with you to the MRI?
You know what? That's sweet. She would go, but you know what? Just you saying that causes me anxiousness because she is more anxious than I am. And I being the people pleaser and wanting to take care of her. I'm a great caregiver. Just don't put me in the MRI.
Okay. Good. Well,
I can take her, but don't take me.
Yes.
So,
well, Kim, I believe that this situation and you calling in today is a great doorway.
Okay.
Right.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
You're carrying trauma. Your sister is carrying trauma.
Yeah.
We hear you have already identified the family roles that you have fallen into as a result. And those roles, although they manage a situation, they only protect the anxiety to stay alive.
So keep in mind, Kim, that God is with us, and God is always the one who makes a way out for us when we feel trapped. So the Israelites,
I'm envisioning my mind. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, the Israelites are running away, right, from the Egyptians. They're stuck between the sea and the advancing army, and God makes a way through. God will make a way through for you.
Absolutely.
And we keep reminding ourselves of that truth.
One of the joys that we have here at New Life is being part of God making a way through. We have so many resources. We have a nationwide network of therapists. If you're struggling with anxiety, we have some great books, devotionals, CDs that will help you. All you need to do to access this deeper work, to access the help that may be driving your anxiety to get to the other side of that is give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we can connect you. We can connect you to a counselor in your area or a resource that will help you get to the root of the problem and the seriousness of your anxiety. As I like to say, I want to know what the anatomy is of the anxiety so we know how to overcome it and get through it. And as we close today's show, I want to remind you that if you have someone in your life who is struggling with anxiety, share this show with them. Don't keep it to yourself. Spread it out there. And again, we're going to be taking calls tomorrow, so give us a call at 1-800-229-3000 tomorrow. Thank you so much for being part of this special show. And until tomorrow, be well.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.